The voice of sharing, 旅人的香。
Hey, this is Arlene.
And this is Gowri.
Welcome back to more news from Southeast Asia. But before that, we are going to sort of bring you back to the yesterday's World Cup.
Yeah, that's right. We had a couple of interesting matches yesterday. And we have Argentina who beat Bosnia and Herzegovina by 2-1. And then, of course, we also had Germany and Portugal, which was 4-0, surprisingly. And it was a very good game. Thomas Müller actually scored a hat-trick, 3 goals, that is. And then one more goal by Matt Hummels. And Portugal, for some reason, didn't shine, although they had the best player in the world, who is Cristiano Ronaldo. But it's only the first match, and I'm pretty sure they might come back stronger in the next game, just like it's pretty much the same like Spain, how Spain also lost their first game. And we should not be giving them too much of a hard time, because you never know what might happen. Now, moving on to the news, we have news here by BBC, where Singapore dilemma when diversity policy meets local law. The issue of gay rights is increasingly fraught in Singapore, which aspires to be an open business hub. The authorities have pledged not to actively enforce law that ban gay sex, but public promotion of homosexuality in the media is frowned upon. In May, a dozen of university students showed up for dinner at Goldman & Sachs office in Singapore's business district. But it was no run-of-the-mill event hosted by the company's lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender employee network, and billed as a LGBT recruiting networking dinner. And it triggered quite a controversy in this largely conservative nation state. And local newspaper My Paper ran a piece ahead of the dinner entitled "Wanted by Goldman Sachs: LGBT Employees." News of the event caused enough hand-wringing that Minister for Social and Family Development Chan Chun Sing publicly expressed concern. While discrimination had no place in society, foreign companies should respect local culture and context and not venture into public advocacy for causes that sow discord among Singaporeans. The incident, however, raised questions over how far companies should pursue their diversity policies in countries which may not agree with them. So gay sex is actually banned in Singapore, but both companies, including Google, Barclays, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and BP, are on board as corporate supporters for Singapore's annual gay rights event, which is also known as the Pink Dot, happening on the 28th of June. It also makes sense that given that many countries have tighter labor markets with aging populations, including in Asia, says Adecco Asia's head of marketing and communications, Ian Grundy. We don't have enough people in the workforce. The smart companies are the ones that are not going to practice any discrimination in the people they choose. So this is largely a shocking news that Singaporeans are actually quite biased, and the discrimination that they hold for the LGBT community. And at the same time, it's also a good effort for all these multinational companies like Google's, Barclays, JP Morgan, Goldman & Sachs to actually to support this annual gay event, and not to say advocate, but to practice a more neutral selection process in choosing their workers. And when asked why it went ahead with its dinner, a Goldman Sachs spokesman told the BBC that it regularly holds recruitment events, and our goal is to hire the best people we can find and to build a diverse team. And JP Morgan said it believes in the importance of diversity in the workplace, while Barclays said that it is committed to a culture of meritocracy where people are judged based on their performance instead of their preference on how they live their personal lives. Google, meanwhile, said that a diversity of perspectives, experiences, and cultures among its workers would lead to the type of products and innovation that everyone can benefit from. So I think very good comments by Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Google, because it is true that the selection of workers should always be based on meritocracy, on their ability to perform, in their ability to do their job well, their productivity, their efficiency, and not just about their sexual preferences in life. So moving on to our next news by Channel News Asia, where Singapore and South Korea center to boost cooperation in biomedical research. So the KIDI A-Star MedTech Development Center, which officially opens on June 16, will promote the co-development of medical technologies and pharmaceuticals between Singapore and South Korea.
And a key cornerstone of the Memorandum of Understanding signed between the two national agencies in December 2013, the center will promote the co-development of medical technologies and pharmaceuticals between Singapore and South Korea, the A-Star said in a statement issued on Monday.
So the companies and their local partners will also be able to tap on a US $5 million research fund set up as a part of the MOU to help finance joint projects between South Korean and Singapore entities to register and manufacture products here, as well as market them to the region from here. Student exchange programs will also be arranged under the MOU.
The Singapore and the Republic of Korea share complementary strategies in the biomedical space. Korea companies want to regionalize and internalize their operations, while Singapore wants to attract more biomedical companies to build a critical mass of such company in the country. So the opening of the Biomedical Science Development Center will bring about a more institutionalized approach to foster collaborations between the Korea biomedical companies and the research partners in Singapore. So in the case of Singapore and South Korea, it seems like the partnership was definitely enhance the biomedical industry and technology in that particular country, and I think it's good for Singapore and for this region as well, to enhance the medical research of biomedical.
And it's a good partnership between South Korea and Singapore as well, to collaborate and conduct these researches, because earlier we were just reporting about how important diversity and difference in culture and the advantages that it can bring onto the table.
Yeah, definitely. And in fact, they look at this on a long-term scale. So they are also looking at education as one of its key area of enhancement. For example, the MOU for student exchange program. Anyway, from Singapore, we move on to Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesia together. It's reported by today's newspaper, and the headline was written as Singapore, Indonesia navies help Malaysia foil pirate attacks. So a coordinated regional efforts among Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore foiled a pirate attack in South China Sea.
So according to the RSS Gallant, the Republic of Singapore Navy's patrol vessel reached the site for about 4 hours after the attempted attack at 8:40 p.m. on Sunday. And this incident took place off the east coast of Malaysia in the South China Sea. The crew and the vessel are reported to be safe, but no further detail is given. And the United Nations report revealed that as many as 150 piracy incidents took place in Southeast Asia last year.
That's a lot of pirates.
That's right, 150.
I'm quite surprised that in the South China Sea, pirates attack is actually quite a frequent thingy. I mean, 150 per year is a lot. I don't know about you. What do you think about this?
I think it is a pretty shocking news for me, because I heard about a couple of pirates incidents, but I didn't know the complete number. And
I mean, especially off the coast of Sabah, you always hear kidnappings and ransom and all that.
but then that's not only because of the pirates, it's also some militant extremists that come in.
Group that is happening on the southern Philippines. But at the same time, we can't help to realize that regional cooperation does exist in the Southeast Asia area, especially between, I would say, the love-hate relationship between Singapore, Indonesia, and Malaysia. I guess this is the time where they are focusing more on sisterhood and helping each other.
Okay, let's move on to our Indonesia's presidential debate, reported by the Malay Mail Online. Indonesia's presidential debate focuses on economy, protectionist promises. So Indonesia's two presidential candidates traded nationalist rhetoric yesterday in a debate ahead of July's election, with the frontrunner suggesting he would make Southeast Asia's biggest economy more protectionist. So Jokowi also said that, I believe our economy can grow by more than 7%, compared with a little more than 5% estimated this year with conditions. First, the investment climate has to be more open and let local investors create growth. And some recent opinion polls have also suggested that his lead is narrowing against his rival, who is ex-General Prabowo Subianto, who has adopted a heavily nationalist campaign from the outset.
And it seems like, I don't know, but I feel that the Indonesians' politics are definitely making strides. What about you?
I think they are preparing for their July 9 elections, and things are getting really heated up between the two lead presidential candidates, who is Jokowi and of course Prabowo. And it seems that Prabowo's approach is more of a how do I say it, a more nationalist, and because he is known to be his ex-wife is actually a daughter of the former autocrat Suharto, and it seems that he is also one of the best-known economists, and his brother is one of the richest businessmen in Indonesia. So usually that, in my opinion, that makes
Prabowo
a little less popular, because when you go for someone who already has it all, who's already has rich brother, rich uncle, and this and that, it's very hard for them to actually understand where the people are coming from. Whereas if you look at Jokowi, he comes from a pretty humble background, and he started out his own furniture business, and he developed from there.
He has that rag to riches sort of story, and he reminded me a lot of Barack Obama when he first started his campaign. He's like someone from nowhere, coming from a very humble background, sort of worked his way up into politics. So it seems like Jokowi had that similar aura in him.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think another point that they brought up during this debate was also that Prabowo spent most of his time overseas, living overseas, while Jokowi was the one who had his entire upbringing in Indonesia.
Actually, I'm very much fascinated with Indonesia's election. I mean, I've never been that much excited compared to now, because I feel that there's a real competition here. I mean, it's not just a competition. It's like what Malaysia faced during the 2008 election, where you're moving from the old era of old money, like, because I mean, you look at Prabowo's background, he's from the old money. He has a lot of connection with the military, and also with during the during the era and all that. And now we are looking at Indonesia in a different light. Indonesia that is more towards the new era of Indonesia, new development. It's no longer based on like old connection and the old capitalist society, but the new generation is more towards democracy and liberalism and all that.
Yeah, and they're heading towards democracy as well. They're no longer tolerating an autocratic rule in Indonesia. And that's why Jokowi seems to be a popular choice, because they are kind of afraid that Prabowo is being influenced, carry on the influence of Suharto, who was the previous autocrat in Indonesia as well.
But I think it's a very interesting presidential election, which definitely would cover it more in the future, and sort of like make analysis on both candidates, what kind of policy they would carry on in the future.
We should go deeper into that and discuss that one.
So the next off. From Indonesia's president election, we focus on Indonesia's Papua. So Papua province has always been a very contagious. I mean, sorry, not contagious. It's always been a very contested area because it has always have this separatist group and also the Indonesian government, fighting with each other. So for this time in abcnews.net, it was reported that calls for UN monitors to be allowed to Indonesia's Papua provinces.
So there are renewed calls for United Nations to monitors to be allowed into Indonesia's troubled Papua provinces to verify what human rights group describe as gross violations. So those rights group from around the world are meeting at the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva, trying to turn the spotlight on the region. So we look at what local human rights organizations in Papua are documenting. We see we have quite a high number of cases of torture, said Norman Voss, who is from the International Coalition of West Papua.
And also they had almost 79 political prisoners by the end of last month. Mr. Voss also said a heavy military presence in the area is creating a climate of conflict. And it seems like West Papua, in a way, is the Wild West of Indonesia. That's interesting, a connotation. And there's a lot of money, a lot of resources, extraction, and security forces are benefiting from the ongoing conflict and from the situation. I definitely totally agree with the view of Mr. Voss, because I think that I have this idea where I feel that a lot of the resources from other regions or other islands of Indonesia are sort of being extracted to Jakarta. I mean, that's one of the reasons why development is very sparsely in those areas outside of Jakarta.
And also to compare, actually, the people in Papua and people in Indonesia. I mean, I did spend quite some time in Indonesia, and the people in Indonesia generally do not want to associate themselves with Papua at all. And
Indonesia, as in people living in the Java.
I was in Java, so I guess that was my
and
demographics.
Physically,
mostly.
they are very different, right? I mean, I would say the West Papua people, they come from the Negrito background, where
they're a lot darker by complexion as well, and taller than
they could
most
be like the
Indonesians.
first wave of migration during the first human exploration from Africa. That's why they still have the African feature, but they are much more smaller. And they are called Negrito.
And the social and economic gap between these Papuans and other Indonesians are very wide as well. And apart from that, what was I going to say?
The socio-economic gap?
Yeah, and also the people in Papua, they tend to lead their own way of life.
Oh, yeah. Very indigenous sort of life.
That's right. They
similar to people, I mean, if you want to talk about Peninsula Malaysia, it would be similar to the Orang Asli or in those
very much
areas.
so. They don't care too much about civilization, about getting all the latest technology and all. They're happy with the way things are, except that they are being discriminated and they are being, how do I say it? People look at them in a different light and in a quite negative way at that. And
I don't know about you, but I mean, I feel bad about this, but when I was younger, I thought that people in Papua, they are cannibalists.
Oh, okay.
Cannibalists, because there are stories of, them eating corpses and eating body of
I have friends
people.
who have actually been to Papua, and they said it's actually a very, very beautiful place, and the people there are really nice. Well, they lead a different kind of lifestyle, but that doesn't make them
less civilized, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They should. I mean, I think there should be like a democratization of what economy is and what education is, and there should be an alternative view about how we should lead our life. There shouldn't like a one-way street that you need to grow into this a city with skyscrapers and concrete buildings just to prove that you're civilized.
To prove that you're civilized, and that's not the only way to lead your life and to fit into society.
Or corporate suits and all that, right?
And sad part is there are also reported lots of cases of torture and political arrest during political demonstrations.
Actually, the Papuans has always been vocal about their independence against the Indonesian. The whole islands and all that. So I guess it's a long way for the Papuans, but it's good that they are calling for UN monitors to be allowed in to Indonesia's Papua provinces.
Yeah, hopefully things will start to look up from there. So let's move on to China now. So China rejects Philippines' call for construction freeze in disputed areas of the South China Sea.
So China rejected the Philippines' call for a halt to construction projects in disputed areas of the South China Sea, insisting that it has the right to build on what it regards as Chinese territory. And China's foreign ministry spokeswoman Hua Chunying at a regular press briefing accused Manila of hypocrisy in its criticism of Beijing's activities, saying that the Philippines has itself engaged in construction work and in the disputed Spratly Islands.
So on the one hand, the Philippine side is busy putting up installations on China's Nansha or Spratly Islands that they have illegally occupied, said Ms. Hua, referring to the Philippine-controlled island of Pak Asa, which Beijing says belongs to China. While the Philippines lodged a complaint with Beijing last week over alleged reclamation work at the McKinnon Reef, also in the Spratly Islands, reported by the Department of Foreign Affairs spokesman Charles Jose on Saturday.
I think the South China Sea is a very interesting issue to discuss about. I mean, for one thing, it's not just about the territory, it's also about the relationship between the countries within Southeast Asia as well as their relationship with China. And in this case, I think the issue of Spratly Island is not a new issue. It has been going on probably since 2007
but
and all that.
Did we read an article yesterday that China was trying to build a school or something?
Oh yeah, it did. It was trying to sort of build a school in one of the islands in the Spratly Islands.
So it seems that China, in turn, is accusing Philippines of also making some constructions in one of these disputed islands. So basically, there's a lot of blaming each other going on here, and
I think the key problem here is there's different demarcation of reclamation of the sea, like under the UN, I think UNCLOS. And they already said like which boundary belongs. I mean, in terms of sea boundaries, belong to which country. But when it comes to China, they have their own demarcation. Like this belong to us. I mean, the whole South China Sea, they assume that belong to their territory or their boundaries.
So let's move on to the Philippines.
Yeah, again, Philippines lift bans on workers' deployment to Thailand. The Philippines government lifted the deployment ban of Philippines workers to Thailand. The Philippines Department of Foreign Affairs, the FA, said it also lowered its crisis alert level from 2 to 1. And this was reported by Xinhua newspaper. So
given the continuing normalization of the political situation in Thailand, including the lifting of the curfew nationwide last June 13, Foreign Affairs Secretary Albert F. Del Rosario lowered the crisis level from 2 to 1, the DFA said. So do you know that the curfew has actually been lifted
interesting.
in almost the whole of Thailand except in Bangkok? And this was actually in line with the World Cup, believe it or not.
I guess the World Cup has an effect to the democracy in Thailand.
Head was actually, he lifted the curfew so people can actually go out and watch the World Cup.
Yeah, because can you imagine going, I mean, the World Cup is at 4 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock in the morning. You cannot like be watching it at home,
for us Asian people, right?
And you have that atmosphere, like in Malaysia, probably you will watch it in Mama compared to watch it in the comforts of your house. You have that togetherness atmosphere, and I think that's what World Cup should be about.
Yeah, and but a lot of people, I read in some articles and some comments from the Thai people. They said, you can lift all this curfew, you can give us all the freedom for the World Cup, but we still don't want the military regime. We still want our democracy back. So the military is trying to be really nice to the people, though, trying to offer as much as they can to be nice to them, to do things in their favor. So they'll probably be more accepting towards the military, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it as well, and I think, but I agree with you on the side of the people. I don't think the people actually would agree towards a military regime, even though it's a temporary affirmative action, according to the military, because I think that at the end of the day, freedom is what people crave about, and even though they might, be, I mean, democracy is not a smooth process. You have to go through certain, fights and all that. But at the end of the day, democracy is about voicing out your opinion. Everyone should have the right to voice out their opinion. Anyway, this is the end of our Blast from the Grassroots. Time flies so fast.
Actually.
Sorry, our new session. I'm so sorry.
That's fine.
Because our next session will be on the Blast from the Grassroots, and we will have very interesting interview with the Badan Warisan Malaysia. They will be talking about heritage, preserving the heritage in this country.
And before that, don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and also if you don't have your computer with you, you can always tune in to us via your TuneIn app on your smartphone. And also a little update on the World Cup here. USA has defeated Ghana 2-1. And that's just kind of shocker. USA.
Go USA.
So we'll be back in a bit.